down in the two-seater. She hopped in, drunk smile, said it's good to see you. What you thinking about skipping downtown tonight? Race a coupe back home, grab the four-wheel drive, kick a dirt rock road up to a tree line. Stop and look at her and say, ready? Better hold on tight. Let me show you my countryside through these old headlights. We can take this road as far as you want to go. I'll show you how a country mile can take us all night. Feeling high in the full tail up a no dirt road. I ain't gonna run no hide. We can let the fire burn wild. That's just my countryside. We post up on the bank, drop a tailgate, windows down in the cab, pumping George Strait. We paid a couple lines and we throw them on out. Red Bible ripple bouncing on a cool night. Fire dancing, making shadows in the moonlight. She leans in close in the bed of my truck. Now still, let me show you my countryside through these old headlights. We can take this road as far as you want to go. I'll show you how a country mile can take us all night. Feeling high in the bulls tail up a no dirt road. I ain't gonna run no hide. We can let the fire burn wild. That's just my countryside. Let me show you my countryside through these old headlights. We can take this road as far as you want to go. I'll show you how a country mile can take us all night. Feeling high in the bulls tail up a no dirt road. I ain't gonna run no hide. We can let the fire burn wild. My countryside. And there ain't nothing like my countryside.
Good evening, folks. We're back again with a Main Contain Fishing Live broadcast with myself and Mike from Benya Outdoors. We'd like to welcome everyone to the show. And tonight's show is going to be about budget bass fishing. You know, bass fishermen like to fish on a budget. So hopefully we can bring some good things to you. And so, how you been, Mike?
There's a lot of people in here already. Pretty good, dude. I was looking at that. We got a lot of people already in here.
Yeah. So what I want to make sure our Facebook users go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and make sure you got your notifications and your permissions allowed so we can see you comment. We're streaming over on Mike's YouTube page, my YouTube page, my Facebook group, and Twitch. So
Damn. We're all over the internet right now.
yeah, we are. So good evening, Jermaine.
I was watching their podcast the other night. They actually kept me awake for a little while. I was getting ready for bed and I saw they were live and I ended up jumping in and hanging out on their podcast for a while.
Gotcha. Good evening, Tim. So let's kick it off, Mike. So what you got on your budget list there?
So the one thing I wanted to start with, and we talked about this offline a little bit, but the actual reason I started my channel was, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I was watching Tactical Bassin, and they were having their spring buyer's guide, and they were talking about a budget rod, and their budget rod was a St. Croix that I looked up was $225, and they paired it with a Corrado. And they were like, "Oh, this is a great budget rod." And I'm like I was actually at the time. I mean, if you look back here, you see all those 3/4 of those I bought at Walmart, and there's maybe $300 in all of that. So I wanted to start with rods because I will tell you, anybody who grew up fishing like I did, and I know not a lot of people started that way. A lot of people actually started during COVID and started really getting into it within the last few years. But if you haven't heard this name, Ugly Stick, all of us grew up through on one of those when we were kids. Most of us had one at some point, and they offer a rod that usually is pretty hard to break, first of all, which is something that when you start getting into these specific technique rods and some of these more expensive ones, you can break them, So the thing about Ugly Stick is that they have a huge brand, but they have budget friendly options. So for me, the one I wanted to start with is, they have the Ugly Stick rods, but they have usually a combo that you can buy, and it's at most retailers. It's like the GX2, which is their spinning reel. They have a GX2 casting as well, but most of their rods, that one on the left, I guess I don't know if it's left or right on the actual stream, but that one on the left, that is like the classic big water. Like everybody had one of those as a kid. Like that was the style that they had back in the day. But if you look at these prices, like they're $50, maybe $70, $80 once you get to their higher end stuff. But like that Ugly Stick carbon right there, if you were to buy that in like a St. Croix, you're looking at $150.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And I will tell you, the one thing I would say, and the thing I'm going to kind of repeat throughout this whole podcast, is my first 5-pounder was caught on a loose rod that I bought in a 2-pack for $30. You know what I mean? So, and yeah, man, I was thinking, like, honestly, you can do it under $100.
Certainly.
And honestly, the thing is, what's crazy, prices have definitely gone up. Like, definitely everything with supply chain shortages, everything's gone up. But that $100 price point, what you're getting, like in casting reels for $100 now, was not what you were getting for casting reels 5 years ago either. So that's actually come down quite a bit. But like, for example, there's a lot of,
look at this.
Yeah, I actually have that rod right there. That gray one right there is that Vengeance rod. So I fished that rod. I fished a lot of different stuff. So the biggest thing is, for me, if you're starting out fishing, it's not the cool thing to do. It's the entry level thing to do, but buy a combo like the Ugly Stick GX2, or buy a combo that you can afford and start with a spinning rod. Don't go out there and buy yourself a heavy duty bait caster and try to cast it for the first time, because you're going to hate fishing the first day you go out. If you start with a simple spinning rod that's going to cost you $30, and a lot of the times I won't recommend keeping it on there forever, but a lot of times they come with line on them already.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them come preloaded with mono already. It's not the greatest line, and you'll probably want to replace it at some point. But if you wanted to just pick a rod up and start catching bluegill and start catching small bass, you could do it for $30. Don't let the salesman talk you into buying the freaking heavy duty 13 fishing rod or the heavy duty Lose Mock spinnings combo that costs $150. So that's going to be my first rant of the day. I'll let Daniel give his next one.
Yeah, if you talk about bait casters in particular, even spinning rods, you could pick up these nice little combos. Most of them going to be in a medium heavy, 6'6" to 7 foot, and they're usually going to be around the $70-$80 range. And on a budget, you can get you a nice little spinning combo and a bait casting combo. Really, just start off with 2 rods.
Yep.
Because if you look at a spinning combo, you're going to probably get it in a medium, probably a 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" in a combo. You can shake your head, you can drop shot, you can throw some, I say small paddle tails on it. You
can throw 1.5 KVD, like small square bills.
Yeah, and even on the bait caster, even in a medium heavy, if it's got a fast tip, you can still crank with it. You can jig with it. You can Texas rig with it. So really, overall, and talking about Walmart is is beginning to step up their game in the fishing industry. They're starting to bring lures into their stores. I'm not saying the high end stuff, but I'm saying the budget stuff.
I've seen some Skeet Reese rods and stuff like that there too, and those Skeet Reese rods are actually pretty nice for the price point.
Yeah, I saw a loose combo the other day. I think it was in like a 6-1, and it had I think it was maybe a 6-to-1 gear ratio reel on it. I think it was like for $59.99.
Yep.
But if you're getting into bass fishing and you're getting into bait casting in particular, throwing a bait caster and you don't know how to throw a bait caster is going to drive you insane.
Yep. It's yeah, no, and that's something that, to be, in my personal opinion, like, I fish a lot of stuff on a spinning rod, so you don't have to start with a bait caster. The bait caster is more step 1.5, let's say. So you got your spinning rod, you go out and you catch some fish, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to start using some bigger baits. I want to start using something more powerful. That's when you kind of step into that bait caster. And the problem is, and this is something that you have to think about when you go to the tackle store, and I'm probably ruining my chances of ever getting a sponsor here, but let me tell you a little story. I've been at many sporting goods stores where I have watched the personnel come through and recommend a rod, and everything he told that person was wrong about that rod. Because I actually worked, I won't name their name, but I worked at a very popular sporting goods store, and I was in that area. I was in the hunting area, the lodge area. And I worked with people that had never fished or hunted that were working in that area, and they're giving recommendations based on some Cliff Note documentation that they had to read in training 6 months ago. They're looking at the dollar amount, and they're taught to show you the more expensive rods, and they're taught to show you, oh, well, if you don't know what to recommend this brand. Well, the guy was this kid was looking to start bass fishing. Just to give you an idea, Daniel, he was recommending bass fishing, and the guy tried to get him to pair up a spinning rod with a casting reel.
Oh, wow.
And it was a Ducket spinning rod with like a loose casting reel. And I was like, dude, I literally walked over to him and handed him a combo. And I'm like, don't ignore everything that guy just said and buy this. Don't do this to yourself. Like, it's just, the problem is, and it's not necessarily that I fault the employees. It's just, if they don't fish, they don't know. And there's a lot in this sport that is very niche-y. It doesn't have to be, but there is. So when you go to the store, the biggest priced item in that store is not necessarily the best, because I could tell you right now, I sold off all my Daiwa Tatulas. I didn't like them. But you know what I still fish with every time I go out? My Abu Garcia Black Max that I paid $50 for the combo.
$50. Yeah.
Like it came with basically a free rod. It wasn't the greatest rod, but I paid $50 for the reel and rod, and I caught fish on that last Saturday. Like I've been using it for 4 years, and I suck at maintenance. I don't tear my reels down and clean them. I am that jerk that just fishes them until they die and replaces them because I'm stupid.
And then
I'm
go
not
buy
well
another
because
one.
I'll just buy another one. So I would rather buy $50 reels and use them for 10 years than buy 190. Now, don't get me wrong, I have them, but depending on what you're looking to do, don't break the bank, because if you buy a $200 rod and then you buy a $200 reel and you can't afford the baits that go with it, what are you doing at that point? You
Yeah.
can't even go fishing anymore.
You know, if you look at some of these, and I'm not going to get on a tangent about high end rods, but
There's a difference. I will say before we go too far into it, there is a reason that those rods are $300.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the reason why we've got a budget side, a middle side, and a high end side. I would say that's the three categories. But staying on the budget side, you know, you can get a good, you know, even if you look at 13 Fish and Lose, if you look at them two companies, they usually have pretty good sales clearing their older stuff out.
Yep.
So, you know, you can pick up a rod for $50-$60, maybe $70 on a rod.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
And still have a higher end rod.
Oh yeah, I've got 13 rods now because of it, because I was like, this is exactly what I wanted, and it wasn't super expensive. And same thing with like Lose. Abu Garcia has levels. I will admit their rods under $50, I'm not super impressed with personally. Anything that's under $50, that Vengeance rod isn't bad, but if you buy just the rod, they're not the greatest. But like the Veritas line that Abu Garcia has, those are about $100 for the rod, but those perform very similar to my $150 to $170 rods. So that's kind of an example. And that's the thing I think I want to drive home the most is buy what you need and what works for your style too. So
that's right.
You know, I could tell you to use Abu Garcia, or I am like the most unbranded fisherman you'll probably ever see. That weird white one, that's a precision rod or proficiency.
Yeah.
There's Abu Garcia, there's Luz, there's Berkeley. They're all there.
Yeah.
I don't buy my brand. I buy while it's on sale.
Yeah. I'm looking at the corner over here. Now, the rest of my rods are in the truck because I went fishing yesterday. But I'm looking at two rods over there, and both of them rods come from Walmart. One is a Berkeley. Oh no, both of them are Berkeley because there's a shock rod over there, and there's a.
Dude, those shock rods are good too. Actually, I'm pretty impressed with those. Those Berkeley shock rods are acting them.
Yeah.
Let's see if he's got the OG or has he got the new style. Yeah, you got the
no. This is the newer style. Yeah. But you see what reels on it?
Yeah, exactly, dude.
The black.
I got one. Let me see, actually. So when we were talking about the old style, that's the old style.
So,
exactly my point, though.
Yeah, that's in my truck out there.
Yeah,
because I threw.
What's crazy about this thing? I don't know if it's like yours, dude. I don't know if you realize this. I didn't realize this either. This goes to 1.25 ounces, and it's a 6.7.
Yeah.
I don't have a Luz rod or a 13 rod that does that.
You know, this is my Texas rig rod, as you can see.
Yep.
It's
that's got to be. Is that a medium heavy?
Yeah, it's a medium heavy.
See, it's crazy. What's crazy about the shock rods too? They have big backbone to them.
Yeah,
You can like you're ripping that out of grass, no problem.
Yeah.
Like that thing is, but they're not pool cue. Like they do have a little tip to them, which is
That's
what I
right.
like about them. Some of those
Yeah.
rods like that, like you get them and it's like awful. Like you can't like that proficiency rod. I love it, but it's only good if I'm frogging.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that
Yeah.
rod's awesome.
yeah. Well, them proficiencies are done by Dudley, aren't they? Aren't
Yep.
they backed
Well,
by Dudley?
they're collaborative with them, so he does
Yeah.
he gives them input on the design. They've gotten really crazy with their. I won't lie. There's some. Have you seen the Crazy series? Literally, that's spelled like Krazy or something like
Yeah.
that. It's like really cool patterns and stuff.
That's right.
But I haven't used their reels yet, so I can't really speak to them. I'm the type of guy that like I literally will buy a different brand just to try it. Like I love trying new stuff and then being able to tell people my opinions on it because
Right.
like I said, I'm probably one of the best reviewers in the sense of I have zero sponsorship. I have zero reason to tell you something is good. And I am like really lazy and don't do the maintenance. So if I can use it for 3 years without maintaining it, and we're not talking like, oh, I take like excellent care of it. My rods are sitting on my trailer right now and I forgot to cover it. So they've been rained on all day. Like I've dropped my rods into the lake and pulled them out and kept casting them. Like
Oh yeah.
I'm not good on them. I'm mean and rough and tough on my stuff. I've broken 8 rods this year.
Oh Lord. I've only
Because,
broken
and
one.
it's not even fishing. It's stupid stuff like shutting them in my tailgate.
Bass Patrol Nation said he's found some of the H2Os at the Academy.
Yep.
With the IM6 tournament rods, medium heavy. Yeah, you can find them if you just got to look for them when you go in the store. So,
kind of changing out from rods. Do you have any like? I'm probably gonna piss some people off, but like for example, do you find that you have to use a Senko, or do you use another brand?
No, well,
because I know some guys are like, that's the only one I'll use.
No. Because I found, golly, it was last year. Dick's Sporting Goods had a sale on, I call them stick baits. Everything across the board is stick bait to me. It's not a Senko. It's just a stick bait. And big bite baits. They're a West Georgia company. They own the Alabama line.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right there. Let's get that. I got a bunch of big bites.
Look on the back of that package, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're from Georgia, like West Georgia. Yeah. I think they're a Georgia-based company.
I've got a lot of big bite stuff, actually.
Does it say on the back of the package?
Alabama.
Yeah. Okay. They're right across the border.
Yeah. You follow. So, yeah.
Yeah. So they're right there on the line. Yeah. But I found them on sale at Dick's Sporting Goods. It was 10 packs for $2 a pack.
Yep. So my favorite bait, dude, of all time was because of Big Bite. So the rattlesnake worm, Big Bite makes one called coontail.
That's right. It's got like a little spiral on the end. Yep. Yeah,
it's these. This is the lake. These actually are cheap too, but it's that style.
Yeah.
They had them in a clearance bin. And I was like, that's interesting. I've never seen anything like that. Like I've never seen it, but it kind of looks like a caterpillar or a centipede or something, you know? So I was like, screw it. And I ended up taking it to my local lake, wacky rigging it, and I caught 5-pounders, 3-pounders, 2-pounders, rock bass, everything on it. And now I literally keep stock of, I have grande bass ones, I have Lake Fork ones, I buy the big bite ones sometimes, like, and it's just, they're not expensive, and they were at a clearance bin for like $1 a pack.
Right. I got to mention this guy because he's in the chat over here. Tim Williams with the Death Dealer Baits. They did send me some
okay.
stick baits. So I started fishing them. He made some certain color for me for why I fish down here. But I want to give him a shout out because he is in the
Yeah, actually, I got that's the ones you sent me too,
Yep.
right? I got the
Yep.
worms, and I'm actually taking those out tomorrow or Saturday. I've got a spot that I want to try them out. I've used some of their stuff
Yeah.
already for sure. I used that
So-
like Ned rig thing, that like little thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but that thing, I used it on a Ned rig.
Yep.
It worked pretty good. It was pretty cool. And that's actually, to be honest, while we have someone in here that can represent that, that's another budget thing, is don't necessarily think you have to go to a retail store to get a discount good product, because you can buy from a lot of these local plastics guys. Some of these
That's right.
guys that are small plastic guys that are making their own baits, they're selling them at a reasonable price, even with shipping. And you're getting custom hand poured stuff instead of mass produced stuff. So that's another,
right.
actually, it's a good point when it comes to budget fishing. Check these guys out, because I can tell you, I've gotten a lot of custom stuff that's way better quality than some of the manufactured stuff that I'm getting for the same price. So that's another way to budget fish when you're talking baits is, look at some of these, and it's not just bait makers, there is rod makers and stuff like that too. And, check these guys out, because you're going to get not only something that's usually a pretty reasonable price, but you're also going to get something that probably the guy next to you on the lake doesn't have.
That's right.
So you're going to have an advantage in that too.
And if you find a color that works for you and you want to tweak it a little bit, then you can call that bait maker up and say, hey,
Exactly.
I need a little bit more purple flake in it, or I need a little bit of more red flake in it. Things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So baits, if baits all around the world, crankbaits,
Absolutely.
chatterbaits, worms, plastics, whatever, the whole classification of plastics. I just go that route.
Yeah, there's a whole.
It's. But yeah, it's if you just do your research, you can find them people that make the baits for they do it as a hobby. They're retired from something, or they just got into bait making themselves baits, and they said, well, you know what, I want to produce a little bit more, and I can sell them to my buddies or whoever. So you can pick up a 10-pack of stick baits for $4.
Yep.
I've actually got a list here. So it depends on what you buy, of how many's in the pack versus what the pack breaks down to %.
Right. Yep.
So
it's crazy. That's why I asked about the Senko thing. So for me, what I started doing, I started making my own. I don't sell them, but what I did is I couldn't find green pumpkin swim baits. I couldn't find green pumpkin paddle tails. They were just sold out. Every tackle store around didn't have what I wanted. So I went out and I invested in Plastisol. I'm just using do-it molds, but I just literally went out, got a do-it mold, and started pouring my own. And then I started pouring my own worms. And when you start actually, this is a whole different topic for probably another podcast, but just in the budget scope, once you spend that initial investment to get some molds and some Plastisol and some colorants, you can make a lot of stick baits for a cup of Plastisol.
Oh yeah.
And like, I haven't actually bought many stick baits in a long time, and I haven't bought a paddle tail in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Because I make my own.
Lure Works and Spike It Outdoors is the same company. They're located they're located about 20 minutes that away from me. He moved his company from Columbus years ago over to another small town called Brooklet, Georgia. I've been to the shop over there. I've talked to Will. He's kind of like a sales rep, marketing person for the company. Wow. And they just come out, Lure Works just come out with like a fingernail polish paint. So you can take a white swim bait and paint it up like you want it.
Dude, I've done that. I've
Yeah.
used I own more nail polish than my wife, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, because I've painted crankbaits. You can paint plastics, add a little color to them. You can do a lot with some weird material sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, see what? Yeah, Tim, right there. You get 400 baits from a gallon. That's what I mean. Like, and I'm not saying necessarily it's for everyone, because there is some tinkering and some stuff that goes with making them. But I will tell you, I have a lot of fun making them, and sometimes I find like I make a color by accident. I'll add too much green or too much, one color or too much fleck, and I'll still fish it. And then I find that that's a color that really, really works, so it's cool having that. Like, I actually make a laminated black blue fleck and then June bug worm. So it's both colors laminated, because both colors work. And I was just like, why not? And there's some days where that bait catches them, and I'll throw a June bug or black blue made from the same batch from the same color, and the individual color won't, but the contrast of those two colors, sometimes it's just that.
Right. So, Mike, I got another product for you, though.
Do you?
Yeah. I was searching Amazon the other day for some new tackle boxes, right? Yep. And came upon these when I did my search. They're made by Cast King. 3,600 boxes.
Yep.
Another budget find right here.
That brand in general, has become a pretty good budget brand. So,
yeah. So these are like, I think I paid for 2 of these. They come in a 2-pack, or you can get them in a single pack. I think the 2-pack costs like $26. So what is that? $13 a piece.
That's not bad.
So you're saving $6.99 versus the Plano.
Yeah, I say, guys, look up the what are those called? Plano something. Look up the Plano box. Yeah, Plano. Look up a Plano Edge box and look at that.
Yeah.
And you're gonna pay $26 per box for the Plano Edge boxes.
Yeah.
A lot of those Plano ones. I have a couple of Plano ones, and they're all right. But if you can get 2 of those for what I would pay for one of them, that's no brainer. Of course I'm gonna do that. I will say, on the Cast King vein, they make a it's like super power braid. And that Cast King super power braid, you get 320 something yards for like $17.
Oh wow. Let's go to their website and see.
Yeah, see if you can find it. I mean, it may be an Amazon thing too. That might have been a cheaper thing because I was getting it off Amazon. But I think it was called Super Power or something like that. I think it's a weird number too. It's like 327 or something like weird. Like, I don't know why it's that, but I did a lot of my rods on that. And that's actually another thing that I can mention, if I can find it, if I have it right here, is another way to save money. And a lot of people don't realize this, and I actually did a video on this. Buy a line counter when you're putting line on your reels, because you don't need 150 yards of braid on a casting reel, especially if it's only rated for 80. So if you know how much line you're putting on your reels, you'll find that you can get one more reel out of that spool, instead of having a spool that only has enough to basically hang Christmas ornaments or do weird stuff around the yard. Because if you actually use one of those line counters, Cast King actually makes one that's pretty cool, because it actually has a spool holder and everything on it. But you can literally count how much line. Yeah, that stuff right there. I have that one, and then I also bought. It's a little bit different too. They have, I want to say it's like, I think it's called Super Power or something like that. But the price is like, it's over 300 yards instead of 125 or 150 like you get with the other brands.
Yeah, you get 600 yards of 50-pound braid for $24.
Yeah,
$24.99.
Yeah, you go to buy Power Pro, which is pretty much one of the big names. You're looking at $28 for 150.
Right.
depending on where you buy it. Do you look for a line to meet your budget, or do you spend money on quality? So I'll do both, actually, to answer that question. So when it comes to braid, I don't
Yeah. No,
care.
for braid I don't, but for my leaders,
Leaders,
I do. I do.
I won't buy crappy fluoro. It's not worth it. It's more aggravating, and you're actually going to spend way more money. You're going to basically, if you buy inexpensive fluoro, you're going to bird's nest your reel more often. You're going to spend more time cutting it out and replacing it than if you spend the extra. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not buying, I guess, I don't know what is considered like I buy like Seagar, or I'm trying to think what else I buy for fluoro. I've never really been a big Sunline fan, but
I buy Seaguard. That's the only thing
I buy
Yeah.
Invisex. I don't really like the Abrazex. It isn't. It's funny because the Abrazex to me seems more brittle than the Invisex, but
yeah. Now here's another company I found the other day, Mike. Actually on Amazon too, was Reaction Tackle. They actually have some pretty good deals.
I use their high vis. I actually have, so I found them on Amazon, probably the same way you found them.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try, just for the sake of something different, I actually bought pink high vis. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it because I like high vis when I'm fishing finesse. And I will say, like, 2 weeks in, it bleached out on me. So I actually, just for the heck of it, went on to Amazon and put a review, and I was like, I love the line, because the line actually performed really well. I literally put a review up and I was like, the line is really good, but I really wish it wouldn't fade so fast. Literally the next day, they reached out to me and asked me what color spool I wanted to replace the one that failed, basically. So they sent me a brand new spool pretty much unprompted. I mean, I put a review up, but it was more just to let everybody know that if you buy the pink, it gets bleached out quickly.
Yeah.
And they literally offered to send me a spool, and I had it 2 days after they sent it. So, and as a matter of fact, I put that on my Abu Garcia Black Max. So,
yeah, they've got some pretty good stuff. They even got, sinkers. They got tungsten.
I heard their tungsten's pretty decent.
Yeah.
I know a bunch of guys. So over here, Massachusetts has a lead law. We have a weird lead law that doesn't really get enforced, but Massachusetts is like no lead. New Hampshire's the same way. So you have to use tungsten.
Right.
So for them, it really sucks because they don't have a choice. So they always try to find, the cheapest, inexpensive. I don't want to say cheapest, but most inexpensive that they can find. And I have a friend of mine that loves this stuff.
Yeah. So, even a 1 ounce, you get a 4-pack for $20. That's pretty. Yeah. I say that's cheap for tungsten.
For 1 ounce tungsten, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's
and even if you went up to a 2-pack on a 2 ounce, it's right at $19. But
now they have jigs too, right?
Yeah, they have.
I feel like they have a line of tungsten jigs too. I think I saw.
They do. Yeah, they do. Jig heads. They sell jigs.
Well, matter of fact, everything. I buy skirts and make my own jigs a lot. So that's something to think about. I can buy some tungsten ones.
Yeah, but we were talking about stick baits. There you go. Get a 24-pack.
I didn't know they made them.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can get a 24-pack, 5.5 inches for $15.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
If I didn't make my own, I would definitely buy those. See, that's funny because a lot of times I buy like, when I do buy worms, a lot of times it's like Yum Dingers, which is another one of those brands that like has a lot of the same stuff as everybody else, but a lot cheaper.
Yeah, Yum Dingers they've come out with a whole different section now for. I think they've come out with Ned rig stuff this year.
Well, so I think, don't they sponsor like Christie too? So like he's coming out with his own baits through them too, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and
I'm seeing
I
a
know
lot more
that
of
John.
kind of stuff.
Is it John from Creek Fish?
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't he have a creek section?
Something like that. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've seen he has, which is cool to think about. Like, it's encouraging for us little YouTube guys to see YouTube guys getting in the game. Like Alex Rudd had that crankbait he designed with Monster Bass. Like, you start to see guys that get to do things that used to be exclusive to,
Nothing but pros.
the pro guys only are starting to see. Like Ben Nowak did one for, I think it was Excite Baits. He created like a drop shot bait or something with them. Like, you're starting to see some of these YouTube guys start to get into things that would never be possible back in the day for influencers.
Yeah, so we really can't touch the budget part of kayaks or boats, because there's really not.
There really isn't one that I can. Well, not really. Yeah, because they're all pretty much the same price, really, if you think about it. Like, I think probably the less expensive kayaks I know of would be like Feel Free. Has some pretty inexpensive stuff. But like I fish from an Old Town, and to be honest, compared to Hobie and Native prices,
oh yeah,
that's a cheap kayak.
Let me get on the Feel Free kayak.
Feel Free has the lure. It's a pedal drive. That thing's actually cool. My mom bought one. So it's a simple thing, but it has a wheel in the keel. So when you pull it out of the ramp, you can just hold the handle up and roll it back to your truck.
Oh wow.
It's got a wide wheel in the back where most of the where Native and all those guys put their rudder, there's actually a wheel there. And then they have like the over the top rudder like the Old Towns do.
Yeah, if you look at Feel Free,
they're probably the biggest budget one, I would say, for price wise.
Yeah. The only one they got in stock are the greens and the purple right now on this one, but it's $6.99.
Yep. They're really, like, my mom fishes out of one. That's the only reason why I know about them, is my mom got one because she used to go out with us in a regular paddle kayak, and we were all in pedals, and she got bored with it really quickly because it's hard to paddle in a kayak. Like, I will say, if you're going to get into kayak fishing, I don't know if I would recommend starting with a paddle. I know it's the cheapest way to go, but it's a good way to get aggravated really fast because you have to paddle and then cast. You can't you don't have any control. And if there's any wind, you're screwed. You have to basically go where the wind takes you or anchor down every time you want to cast. There's definitely some better options than maybe. I mean, honestly, you could probably. The thing that's crazy is they're starting to come out with like roto molded John boats and stuff now. So like you can get some of these.
Yeah.
My budget.
Yeah, you can get these.
Yeah.
So even if you look at the Yellowfin 100 by Vibe, it's like the 650 range.
Yep.
So it's not. If you're just now talking about.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad looking boat for a starter. Just have to paddle a little bit, which I started out paddling.
Dude, I talk about discount boats. I started with a Sun Dolphin 10-foot 7-inch kayak paddle, sit in. That's what I started with. And it's not the greatest, but I will tell you, to Sun Dolphin's credit, The reason I ended up in an Old Town is because I found out that I personally was over the weight capacity for that kayak without my gear. And I fished out of it for 2 years without
Yeah.
knowing that. So just saying, I know Pelican makes some decent ones that they're not as stable as you would want. That's the only thing about the Pelicans. I noticed a lot of times they're a little bit less stable. I will say, I will put this disclosure out there as I'm saying, be cautious about, do your research, go on YouTube, watch reviews, watch people talk about the stability, watch a video before you go buy one of these, because I will say I've definitely been in some kayaks that are terrifying to sit in.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
So this
the whole time.
this is the first kayak I had, was the
Okay.
Lifetime Yukon Angler. Bought it at Walmart
Yep.
for I think $500. So
See, those have that whole style. That's what you're kind of looking for, though, guys.
yeah.
If you look, so you want to see something with the either a ridge down the center, or you'll see the pontoon style where you'll have a hole down the center and two outside pontoons. That's going to create stability. Something to definitely think about when you're looking, because depending on what you're looking to do and where you're looking to fish, that can make a big difference for sure. Because you're going to be casting. It's a little different when you're paddling versus fishing, because you need the stability when you're fishing, because you're doing motions.
Yeah,
you're actually doing stuff above the kayak. You're not just paddling and sitting still. When you start moving and fighting a fish and that kayak's not stable, you're going to start tipping that thing side to side, and it's going to get a little bit sketchy.
Yeah.
So what do you fish out of now?
I fish out of a New Canoe F12.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That's one. That's like the I want to say outsider, but it's a lesser publicized brand than everybody else. Like Old Town, Hobie, Native, they all kind of get the limelight. His
name is Derek. Is it Derek Burndridge or something like that? Derek? He fishes on the circuit as well, the KBF circuit and all that. He fishes out of a Unlimited, I believe. He's sponsored by them. So, but the New Canoe is actually a great boat. I'll put a trolling motor on the front of mine. So it's classified as a canoe through the state of Georgia.
Oh, yeah, it's because those are like a hybrid, right? That's what the concept of those was. It was designed to move quickly through the water, but have the stability of a kayak.
Yeah, so I can put up to a 3.5 horsepower motor on the back of mine if I wanted to.
Please do that and film it. I want to see it.
If I had one, I would. I would. I'd probably be planing like that.
I don't think you'd ever hit plane. I think you would just be straight hydrofoil the whole time. That would be crazy, dude. To be honest, though, the way technology's going, I wouldn't be surprised you start seeing some of these electric motors that are putting that equivalent pound thrust in, though. They're starting to get crazy with the pound, especially when you start adding the lithium batteries to it that can pump out way more volts and be small enough.
Yeah.
Which actually is an accessory. The thing about fishing is batteries and motors and stuff like that, guys. Like, there's a lot of that out there too, but there's budget options for that stuff too. Don't think you have to put
a Dakota
you don't need to do that.
$1,000 battery in your boat. So what kind of baits you think there's on the budget, Mike? As far as hard baits, let's talk about hard baits.
As far as hard baits, trying to think. I mean, to be honest, mass-produced hard baits, the KVD square bills and stuff like that are usually pretty reasonably priced. I'm trying to think. I will say I'm not necessarily endorsing them, but there is, and they're hit or miss, and you need to immediately replace the hardware but I have caught fish on the Ozark Trail square bills and liplesses. I'm not going to say go out and buy a bunch of them because I have had quality issues on some where some are great and some I've casted the bills straight off of them and had it end up in the lake.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some definite, I'm trying to think like hard baits. Like, I mean, I make some of my own and I don't buy a ton of hard baits. I guess.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. There's Booyah. Booyah makes a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I guess what's hard bait too. Like, are you talking just crankbaits, or because I know personally, like jigs wise, the one of the baits I've been catching the most fish on this year, black blue fleck. It's technically not a swim jig. It's actually an Arky style flipping jig that Booyah makes. That I fish it like a swim jig because it has that like narrow to pointy head, and those are like $3. Granted, they're lead, and I probably shouldn't use them because they're technically under an ounce and not legal here. But there's a lot of like frogs are the same way. You can buy Spro or you can buy Booyah. You know, there's a lot of different stuff like that.
I think Walmart actually has some frogs.
H2O line. See, I don't have.
Yeah, you don't have Academy Sports up there?
No.
Yeah, that's
I have the other one. That's this color.
The Sportsman.
Yeah.
Sportsman.
Yeah. So we don't
Academy
have any academies up here. We don't even have Bass Pros. Like, I have to go to Massachusetts to even go to a Bass Pro. So.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. And my local tackle store just closed, so I'm really screwed. I'm a tackle warehouse guy now.
Yeah, let me share my screen here on this Academy Sports, and
I would love to go to an Academy Sports because I buy stuff online from them a lot. But
yeah, so you know these HTO.
Okay.
Double. Yeah, it's. You know, probably the first thing I would do, I'd probably change out the hooks. And
yeah, I don't. The funny part is I used to be really bad about that, but there's a difference.
Yeah.
A lot of them are really crappy.
That's not a bad looking jerk bait.
It kind of looks like a Vision 110.
Yeah.
It kind of has that shape to it.
Yeah. For $5.99.
I'm sure it's a different plastic for sure, but it definitely has that. And split rings too. That's a mistake a lot of people make, is they don't change their split rings when they change their hardware, and those split rings will bend out too.
That's right.
But actually, speaking of your neighbor there, Lure Parts Online, you can buy split rings and hooks in bulk from them, because I bought a lot of stuff through them, and you can get decent stuff. So
yeah, it's so you can buy a decent let's just kind of, you know, there's a square bill for $4.49. I think that's almost compatible to the KVDs at Walmart.
Yeah, that's like a KVD, probably 2.5. I don't know what the size of it is, but yeah. Popping.
Little popper.
Little like, it's even got the feathered treble.
Yeah. So really, you just have to search around online to find your better deals. You can find out some closeout deals. Have you ever fished one of these, Mike? These tailspins?
Not like that. No, I've fished similar stuff. I've tried to make similar stuff too, but it's kind of like a net spinner makes a lipless.
Yeah, this thing right here is like used for almost vertical jigging.
Okay.
Like a flutter spoon.
Okay. That's interesting, dude. I could definitely see that work. That looks like a cold water kind of bait to me.
Yeah.
Like you said, like yo-yo it, or burn pause it or something to get it to like freak out.
Heck, for $249, I might buy several of them.
You try them out. You let me know how they work in the water, and then that's funny.
Yeah, that's a fat shallow H2O.
And actually, if you like fishing jigs, speaking of baits, while we're looking at the hard baits, you can make your own by buying the silicone skirts. You can buy a kit for like $20,
Yep.
and you can buy your own heads from a site like this, and you can make your own for $3, $4 a piece, and you get to make whatever color skirt you bought the material for. I will say that has helped me a lot, because a lot of times if I get a jig that the skirt gets all shredded, I'll just rip it off and then make another skirt, and I get to reuse that head, which can be a huge advantage. Dude, you let me know. You know how to
Yeah.
reach me. We'll come on
Yeah.
anytime, man.
Yeah, Jermaine.
I do this every week anyways, so I'm happy to come on. You guys can come on. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We were just starting on budget baits, man.
Yeah. So, well, even Z-Man, a lot of people hit on Z-Man chatterbaits.
Dude, that original is
but for $4.99, you really can't beat it.
That is the green pumpkin and the white. Dude, I use that 3/8 ounce one. That's probably the main chatterbait I use, honestly, or bladed jig that I use, because I can, to be honest, a lot of times I forget, I leave them tied on, and I leave a salted trailer on them, and then they get rusty, and then I would rather lose $4.99 than $14.99 or $24.99.
Yeah, I'm not throwing no jackhammer. I tell you that, because we've got too many toothy critters down here to throw a jackhammer.
I will say mid-range, it is budget but not budget. The slobber knocker,
right, Berkeley,
is not a bad bait if you go into it thinking about it differently. It's not a jackhammer. That's not what it is. But it does fish through cover better because of the head design. And it's not an awful price. But those $4.99, buy them at Walmart in bulk. And sometimes you'll even find them in the clearance bin at Walmart, like for $2 with a sticker on them. Those chatterbait originals are, I have probably 15 of them in my box right now. I use them all the time.
Yeah. You talking about the slobber knocker?
Yep, the slobber knocker, the Z-Man original are pretty much the only two I use. I don't screw around with the jackhammer. I probably should, because I do know its value, but I live where there's pike, and it gets real expensive real fast.
Oh yeah,
because the pike will take them. They love a chatterbait. They love a bladed jig, and I lose one every time I go fishing. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, they're $14.
Yeah,
for slobber knockers.
Yeah. Woo. So they are way more, but I will say the one thing about those is, if you fish around wood a lot, the way that head is, it bumps the head and flips up over.
Yeah.
Those chatterbait originals, you're leaving it there. If you pull it underneath the log, it's staying there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Picasso, I bet you.
Yeah, Picasso. No, they make pretty good jigs.
The Picasso has they have a shock blade.
Yeah.
And that's actually a pretty decent price. I got one of those in my Dark Horse box.
Yep.
And those are pretty decent. And the cool thing about Picasso is they make a 1 ounce chatterbait.
Wow.
Dude, it's actually kind of cool. It's a big, it's shaped more like a swim bait head.
Yeah.
It's got more of a fish, like it's like a triangle shaped head. But that thing, if you want to fish a deep, because that's the one thing about like a bladed jig is they don't fish deep very well. They come up, the blade pulls them up.
Right.
That thing, you cast it and let it go all the way to the bottom, it sinks fast and it stays down because it's an ounce. It's a pretty cool bait.
So, Mike, we've been going for about an hour, man. It's I've got to get up for work about 3:30 in the morning. It comes early.
What? That's
Yeah.
rough, dude.
Yeah, it's my weekend to work, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Gotcha. So, guys, I do want to mention, if you are watching this after the fact, Mainstream Fishing, those guys do a live stream, I think weekly. He can quote me if I'm wrong on that. They have a really good live stream as well. Checked out their channel. You have like I said, they do lives all the time. They go over many, many topics. To be honest, some of the topics that I come up with are stuff that they've done and I've seen them do and gave me an idea on doing my stuff. So we are probably going to end up on their show. They're definitely going to be on the Spawn podcast with me. They'll be on May Contain Fishing at some point, I'm sure, too.
Yep.
So check them out as well.
Yeah. So, Mike, we got to come up with a
topic for next time.
For next time. If anybody wants to hear a topic for next time, just post it in the comments. We'll look it up and
absolutely.
Yeah,
because I'm kind of drawing a blank, honestly.
Yeah, me too, man. So once again, thank you for everybody who joined into the May Contain Fishing Live podcast. I want to mention one thing. The American Angler Outdoors is looking for content. It's up here.
I always get it mixed up.
Yeah. He's looking for content creators, fishing, hunting, and motorsports, what I'm understanding from everything. Yep. Mr. Alvin is the owner. Look him up. He's on
Facebook
page,
so you can
Instagram.
Get him on
there. Yeah. He also has a YouTube channel. Go give him a like for his YouTube channel for him. But just want to make sure if you're into content creating on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you post your videos or social media stuff, give him a call, email, and he'll get you set up to get your content on Apple. Is it Roku? Is he still doing Roku, Mike?
I think he's backed off the Roku, but he has a website. It's definitely YouTube. There's a lot of different social sites that he posted on. We have content on there.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to be doing, if you guys, I do want to mention this, might as well throw this out too, is I'm starting a little side venture kind of through the American Angler as well as on my own. But if you're a fisherman that just has a GoPro, but you don't know how to edit your footage, hit me up. I'm happy to help people out. I'm going to be doing some stuff with, some money involved, but for the most part, if you can get me raw footage, we can edit your videos and help you get them up there. So if that's what's stopping you from producing content, don't let it. Just record yourself fishing and reach out to me, and I'll be happy to see what we can do to get you guys some content made.
Good deal. So thank you for joining once again. Make sure you tune in next time for May Contain Fishing podcast.
Guys got too many podcasts. You can't keep them all straight.
I know, man. Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.